Welcome to New York's number 2 sports show. The Yankees take a 2-1 series lead with a 3-2 victory in Game 3, and Giancarlo Stanton hits the go-ahead home run in the 8th inning off of Chris Bubic to give the Yankees a 3-2 lead, which they would hold on to win. And Stanton would have 3 of the Yankees' 4 hits. The Yankees had a lot of walks again, but again, only 4 hits, and Stanton with 3 of them. He had an RBI double earlier in the game to get the Yankees on the board in the 4th inning. He even had a steal. Yes, Giancarlo Stanton had a stolen base. It didn't lead to a run, but it was his first steal since 2020. And Stanton has been nothing short of brilliant in the postseason. The funny thing is, when he was first acquired by the Yanks from the Marlins, he had a really, really poor 2018 ALDS versus the Red Sox. It was a 4-game series, and I remember it vividly where he, time after time in big spots, just looked pretty lost. 2019, he was really mostly hurt. But then from 2020 and onward has just been magnificent. And in, what's the stat? I think 30 Yankee postseason games, 12 home runs. This is one of the most prolific sluggers in the history of the game. A borderline Hall of Famer. And if he could somehow add a World Series to his resume, I mean, I don't know how he really at that point wouldn't make it. Obviously, there's more to his career to go. And unfortunately, injuries have really derailed what was a very, very special player, an MVP winner in 2017 with the Marlins. But Stanton, like I said, 2020 was really, really good. Moments come to mind in that Rays weird, sort of COVID year series in San Diego. And then 2021, even though the Yankees lost the wild card game to the Red Sox, Stanton was great and tried the best he could to carry them. 2022, I don't think the numbers were really great through the postseason, but really arguably the biggest sort of hit that you could argue happened was the homer that he had against Cleveland in Game 5 of the first inning. That was the put the Yankees up 3-0 and they would win that, series deciding game. So the guy just locks in, and he's such a key pivotal piece to this Yankee puzzle, especially when you consider the fact that Aaron Judge, and look, was the stat line maybe a little bit misleading tonight? 0 for 4? Yes, it was. We'll talk about it. Context is needed, but at the same time, it's just not good enough. And so Stanton really, even the thing I was saying was, even when the outs were prevalent in the first couple games, the at-bat quality was good. He was hitting the ball hard. He wasn't striking out at a crazy rate. And now you're seeing those things come to fruition here. So Stanton is the big story out of this game. No doubt about that. As far as the pitching is concerned, the bullpen was very good. Clay Holmes, Tommy Kahnle, and Luke Weaver. Weaver getting a 5-out save. He, in a playoffs where you've seen the likes of Devin Williams, Emmanuel Clase, Josh Hader, Edwin Diaz, just to name a few, struggle. Luke Weaver, who isn't really a known closer, just continues to get the job done. And as a Yankee fan, there's confidence in that, which is great. And Clay Holmes and Tommy Kahnle as well, don't forget about their contributions. Clay Holmes comes into a game where, Kansas City has a lot of momentum, and he's able to kind of just steer it at least into neutral. And then Tommy Kahnle had a really nice job. Tommy Kahnle actually ends up with the win. So Clay Holmes wins Game 1, Tommy Kahnle wins Game 3. And at this point, this is kind of your top 3. Now, in terms of the bullpen, Weaver, Kahnle, and Holmes. Now, with that said, Tim Hill is a lefty that will be thrown into some big spots. I know Ian Hamilton's been showing some good stuff. Jake Cousins, it's unfortunate. I feel like he's kind of he really at one point was kind of part of that top 3. Upon Clay Holmes losing his closer's job, at the time, it was kind of Weaver, Holmes, and Cousins. But now things have changed a little bit. And so the Yankee bullpen has been very, very good these first 3 games. And you could tell that it was kind of rounding into form as the season was coming to a close. Starter Clark Schmidt, he did well. It's really unfortunate that he ends up only going 4 2/3, which is not so uncommon for Clark, but he was cruising with 2 outs in the 5th inning. The final line is 4 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. Look, a very sort of unlucky infield single to keep the inning alive, and then a double down the line by Kyle Isbell and a triple by Michael Massey ends up, ending the night for Clarke Schmidt. But Clarke Schmidt had, out of the 3 starters that have gone so far, Cole, Rodon, and Schmidt. Schmidt gave him the best performance. And he came so close to at least giving you 5 scoreless innings, if not then more than that. So for me, much more of a positive than a negative, but does kind of end up, he kind of leaves on somewhat of a sour note. But, he looked pretty sharp, only 1 walk. There was a hit by pitch as well. But for Clarke Schmidt, did what he had to do. That's the thing. Like, the downside of Luis Gil is that if things did unravel for him, like, you could lose the game. Clarke, at his worst, is such that, like, he, dating back to last season, he typically doesn't give up, like, more than 3 runs in an out. And obviously, like, there's been outings where, of course, he has. But this was good. This was really good. And the Yankees, then now let's get into the Yankee lineup, which was not good. Bat quality is not bad. 9 walks. Like, they're getting on base, but 0 for 6 runners in scoring position, 11 men left on base. And Seth Lugo really was not very dominant. He ends up going 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts. So Yankees probably deserved a little bit of a better fate against Lugo, only getting the 2 runs, but also give Lugo credit for kind of escaping some jams, limiting damage. So, but what I'd say is, like, and we'll talk about this, I do not want to face Cole Reagans in Game 5, but Reagans and Lugo end up doing what they have to do, but the eye test would tell you, like, the Yankees, it could have been a lot better than that, but the Yankees weren't really quite able to break through offensively. And the Yankee bullpen just was a little bit better than the Royal bullpen. Royal bullpen was pretty good, but one mistake by Chris Bubich to Giancarlo Stanton's the difference. So as far as the Yankee lineup's concerned, Oswaldo Cabrera back in the lineup. There was maybe a thought that John Birdie would get another start, but they go Oswaldo versus the righty, and Cabrera, he draws 3 walks. Like, that was big. I mean, one of those walks by Oswaldo actually led to the second run. So this was the Game 1 lineup. And going through it, Glaber has cooled a bit, although I still do like the way he's working counts. Like, with Glaber, I have no issue with, even though the batting average is low, he's drawing his walks. There's a bit of pop. He's hitting the ball the other way. And really, Glaber was very unlucky because there was a play in, I think, the 3rd inning, a ball that probably was fair. It was very close. They ruled it foul. It looked like it just might have hit the chalk. Yankees challenged it, and the call would stand. So there was that too. Juan Soto didn't do too much, but didn't do nothing at the same time. Soto had a sac fly that was hit pretty well. Of course, you would have wanted more, but it could have been worse than that. So Soto, like, I think that his presence and the way he looks at the plate is good. He had that 3-hit Game 1, and since then, hasn't been as much. But he's, again, he draws 2 walks. He gets the sac fly. He scores a run on the stand RBI double. So there's that. Aaron Judge, 0 for 4 the strikeout. I'll say the strikeout, a little bit of blame goes to Judge because it's annoying that he even somewhat offered at it. But to be fair to him, that should have been ball 4. He didn't go around. He definitely checked his swing. And then he did hit the ball hard on a couple other of occasions. So lined out to short in the 1st. Hit a ball, I think maybe just shy of the track or on the track in the 4th, maybe 3rd or 4th inning. And so, look, I think he's starting to come around, but the stats are what the stats are. You can't deny that. So Austin Wells, a rough night for Austin Wells, 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. So Wells, who seemed like he was kind of coming out of it in Game 1, lately not great. And here's part of the problem is, like, you have these lefties that are coming in, and once Wells is up, they'll go with Wells, Stanton, Jazz, Chisholm against lefties. Here's the positive, though. Even though Wells has been struggling, Stanton is the one that gets to face the lefty, and Stanton is taking advantage of that. So Giancarlo Stanton, 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs, a stolen base, the game-winning home run. Just he was the key to this win. Jazz Chisholm Jr., 0 for 4 with a strikeout. The frustrating thing with Jazz, and I really like his personality, and it's like I like that he kind of just says what's on his mind, but his word choice was not great after game 2, kind of saying that the Royals got a bit lucky in game 2. Whether he was right or wrong, it's bulletin board material, and the Royals fans were booing him, and Jazz didn't exactly do anything offensively. So if you're going to be talking that game, you got to back it up a little bit. And hopefully he still does so. Anthony Volpe, he's been a positive, definite positive. He got the other hit. Yankees had 4 hits, 3 by Giancarlo, 1 by Anthony Volpe, and a couple of walks as well. So Volpe, like, this has been, it's not like it's been earth-shattering, but if you just watch these 3 games, it's been a step up than what we saw in the regular season. So that would be really big for Volpe to keep it up. So like what I've seen from him, I brought up Oswaldo, the 3 walks. Very pleased by the fact that Oswaldo seems to be the starter against right-handed pitching, and defensively he's done the job. Lastly, Alex Verdugo. Verdugo, who really was kind of the hero in game 1. I wish that there was a way that they could pinch hit for him against lefties, but it's just the way the construction of the roster is, it's just not going to happen. That's the problem. Like in the, the 8th inning against Bubic, I believe, Verdugo grounds out with first and second 2 out. So, and I understand that Verdugo, is good for defensive purposes. I get all that. And look, Verdugo has been pretty solid in this series as well. But it's little things like that where ideally, I think teams, and we've seen it, like they can match their lefties against Yankee lefties, and the Yankees can't really respond. They don't pinch hit for Austin Wells. They don't pinch hit for Alex Verdugo, like Jazz Chisholm Jr., he's going to hit for himself. So that's that. So the Yankees would be the ones to take the lead, but definitely a bit of controversy leading into that. And that begins in the 3rd inning. The 3rd inning, Anthony Volpe grounds out to Bobby Witt Jr. The throw wasn't great by Witt, and Gurriel had to leap, and he would then, touch first base. It looked like it was really close. The Yankees did not challenge that, and I kind of felt as if they should have. They decide not to. Then Oswaldo walks, and then with 2 out, Gleyber drops the ball into right field, opposite field, what could have been a double, and they rule it foul. Yankees challenge that one, and the play stands, and then Gleyber flies out to deep right. So I would say some bad luck that inning, some controversial calls, if you will. And, again, I kind of was hoping the Yankees would challenge the Volpe ground out. So the Yankees come away with nothing there when they certainly could have. Then, and keep in mind, Schmidt is really doing the job. In the 4th inning, Soto gets a leadoff walk. And then with 2 out, Giancarlo Stanton laces an RBI double into left center field. Soto scores from first, and the Yankees take a 1-0 lead. Then in the 5th, the Yankees score again. Leadoff single Volpe, walk Oswaldo Cabrera, sack bunt by Verdugo, walk by Gleyber Torres, sets up a bases loaded 1-out spot, 3-1 count to Soto, who hits a sac fly. So, you knew that he would do something productive, and the result probably could have been better, but it's a big run for the Yankees. They take a 2-0 lead, and then Judge flies out. So that was a spot where, it would have been great for the Yankees to really sort of break it open. They don't do it. And then the 5th inning, the Royals give that response inning. So Kansas City, they tend to score after the Yankees score themselves. And that's what happens here, kind of innocently. A 2-out infield single by Adam Frazier. Not a great throw by Anthony Volpe, but I don't think that he had a chance. It was perfectly placed by Frazier. And even if Volpe makes the perfect throw, I think that he beats it out. And then unfortunately for Clark, a couple of 2-strike extra base hits for the Royals to tie it up. First, it's Kyle Isbell. I don't know how that ball stayed fair. Down the left field line, it goes off the wall. Frazier scores from first, and the Royals cut the lead to 1. And then Michael Massey, the leadoff hitter for Kansas City, he gets an RBI triple. It was a diving play that Soto that he was unable to make. It wasn't an easy play, and I understand why Soto went for the dive. Luckily, it didn't cost them. Luckily, that Massey run didn't score, but it ties it up at 2. And then Clay Holmes comes on. And look, that game could have maybe unraveled at that moment. He walks Bobby Witt Jr., but then he gets Vinny Pasquantino to fly out to center. Then Angel Serpa the lefty replaces Lugo in the 6th and allows a 1-out single to Stanton. And at that moment, I was wondering if there was any chance they'd pinch run for him. I didn't want them to. I agree with that. They didn't. And clearly that was the right decision, but just, I didn't know. Right? 6th inning, like I'm sure there were some Yankee fans that wondered if that would happen. It didn't. And interestingly enough, John Schreiber, the right-handed pitcher, comes on to face Volpe, and Stanton steals second base. I mean, one of the more shocking things you'll ever see. Volpe then walks, and Oswaldo Cabrera works a pretty good at bat, but lines out to center. So if Oswaldo's single, I wonder if Stanton would have tried to score. We'll never know. But the score remains 2-2. And Clay Holmes gets a 1-2-3 6th inning. So that sinker really working for Clay. He got a couple of groundouts. He has been, the sample size isn't crazy, but Clay Holmes in the postseason has been good. Whether that be, I think he did come into that 2021 wildcard game, pitched a bunch in 22. And then, of course, this season so far, he's done the job. 7th inning, lefty Sam Long comes on, gives up a 1-out walk to Soto. Then the starter, Brady Singer, who is really the fourth, at this point, the number 4 starter for Kansas City, faces Aaron Judge, and this was the at-bat where Judge struck out, where really it probably should have been ball 4. Judge kind of took a little bit of a half swing, but he held up. But at the same time, it's a little frustrating that he just didn't lay off completely. And so the score is still 2-2. Tommy Kahnle really looked good. Kahnle a 1-2-3 7th inning. And then Chris Bubich, the lefty, in the 8th, after striking out Austin Wells, gives up the big blow to Giancarlo Stanton, a big-time homer for Stanton, 417 feet to left center field. It was more of a towering high home run, where Stanton's are usually line drives. This had more arc to it. And that would be the first go-ahead Yankee postseason home run in the 8th inning or later since 2012 ALDS Game 3, Raul Ibanez. So it's been a while. It's been 12 years since the Yankees have had that moment, and Stanton provides it because that's what he does. So it gives Yankees a 3-2 lead. This is where eventually Verdugo has a first and second 2-out spot and grounds out. Tommy Kahnle strikes out Michael Massey to start the 8th, and then Luke Weaver comes on to potentially get the 5-out save, which he gets. But the 8th inning gets a little bit interesting. Bobby Witt Jr. with the single. Pasquantino lines out to Volpe. A really nice play by Volpe. A diving play that if he doesn't make that play, this whole thing could be completely different. But give Volpe a lot of credit. Really good play. And then Sal Perez singles to make it first and third 2-out. And notorious Yankee killer Yuli Gurriel steps to the plate, but luckily Luke Weaver gets him to fly out to center. Then Michael Lorenzen, the right-handed pitcher, comes on in the 9th. And Yankees had a couple of opportunities, but Austin Wells lines out and Stanton pops out. So it sets up Luke Weaver, 1-run game in the 9th. He gets Melendez to fly out, Maikel Garcia to pop out. Tommy Pham, the righty, would pinch hit for Adam Frazier, I guess looking for some pop. And Pham grounds out to Volpe. Luke Weaver gets the 5-out save, Weaver's second save of the series. And the Yankees win it 3-2. A really, really big win for the Yankees. And now they have Gerrit Cole on the mound as they look to clinch the series in Kansas City. And I think this is a really big Game 4. Yes. Is it nice that you do have Game 5 at Yankee Stadium in your back pocket? Sure. It's an elimination game for Kansas City. You'd rather be the Yankees right now. But like I've said, I'd like to stay away from the Reagans-Rodon matchup. That's the most important thing. Secondly, in terms of setting things up for the next round, it'd be nice to not have to go down the Rodon path if you can avoid it. But I think that, with Cole versus Waka, and the Yankees did pretty well versus Waka in Game 1, that's about as advantageous a pitching matchup as you'll find. And I think for Cole, who really did struggle in Game 1, the onus is on him. If he doesn't come through, there's going to be a lot of conversation surrounding Gerrit Cole. There just will be. And so I hope that he is able to put up one of his vintage performances. Going to need it. And so even though it's not a must-win game, very imperative that the Yankees close this in 4. I really, really believe that. I think that's very important for many, many reasons. Most importantly, this series at hand, but also there's ramifications beyond. So Cole versus Waka, Game 4 in Kansas City. The Yankees will look to close out the series. They are up 2-1 in this best of 5, and the hero of Game 3 is one Giancarlo Stanton.